Good morning. This is Yul Hanna for CruiseCraze.com. Today I'm going to answer a question that was asked of me on the website, and we're new, so this is something new for me too. But the question was asked is, what is my favorite cruise destination? Well, it's hot right now around here, but you know what's cool? Alaska. Alaska's great. Our very first cruise was in Alaska, and it's been 20-something years ago, and we're going to Alaska for our 25th anniversary. And we've been to Alaska 3 times, and I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of each time we went. All 3 times was on Princess, and enjoyed all 3 of them. The first time we went through the Inside Passage, and we caught all the ports in between. Ketchikan, of course, you can see the lumberjack show there, and there's lots of things to do in Alaska. The water is very calm going through the Inside Passage. It's not a problem at all, and especially if it's your very first cruise, that was nice. It did pick up when we came out of the Inside Passage and we're heading on towards Seward, where we docked, and but it was, there was one night that we had to kind of get used to it, but it was okay. It wasn't anything fierce, and it turned out it was like lobster night, and of course, I was a little queasy. I didn't really want lobster, but in any case, I have to tell you, the things that happen in Alaska are just monumental. They're wonderful. It's great. Whether it's going to Juneau, which is the capital of Alaska, it's kind of an interesting place. You may or may not know, but Juneau, for being the state capital, is kind of unique in the fact that you can only get there by water or airplane. There are no roads that go to Juneau. You have to get there by plane or by water, and not a huge town, about the same size as Claremore, Oklahoma. The state capitol building has a flat top. It looks like a business office. It's not really fancy, but it was really cool. We went to the Red Dog Saloon there, and my wife and I have had Scottish Terriers for a long time, so they featured the Scotties in the Red Dog Saloon, so we got all kinds of Scotty memorabilia. It was fun. There are some things there that the food is great. Fish is great in Alaska. Even if you don't like fish, you should order a big halibut steak, because it's all fresh, and the ship will have Alaskan halibut and salmon that you can eat as part of your menu. The weather was not cold. You needed maybe a light jacket in the evening, and it was not really cold at any point in time. It was fun to be sitting out on the deck and reading a magazine or a book at 11 or 11:30 at night, and still be able to see without any lights. I mean, it never got completely sunlight at dark, but it was like dusk, all the way through the night. We were greeted by very friendly people, and of course, I choose my favorite cruise destination, and it's not available this year because of the virus. But now is the time to be booking for next year anyway. So we went all the way up to Seward, Alaska, at which point we got off of the ship and we went into Anchorage. And when we got into Anchorage, we took the Princess Dome train to Denali, Alaska. We were able to see Mount McKinley at the time. Now it's Mount Denali. They've changed the name, but Mount McKinley at the time, we were able to see it, which is rare that you can see it because of the clouds and the overcast situation around the mountain. But we spent a couple of days in Denali. I actually played golf in Alaska. They had a 9-hole golf course in Denali. It Well, we have a little course in our community that's similar, but we didn't have fences across the fairway to keep the cows in. It was pretty unique, but I got a golf ball that said I'd played golf in Denali, Alaska. Also, we went to see the Iditarod puppy farm where they trained the puppies for the Iditarod sled drive competition, and they were really cute. It was fun. It was a great time. It's beautiful country. Downside, they have mosquitoes about the size of birds. They were huge mosquitoes, but easily swatted. So, but I mean, that if that's the worst I had happen, that's not very much. But the train was awesome. Saw lots of wildlife and just beautiful scenery all the way. I think if I had to do it again, I'd take the train there and then I'd take a bus back, because it's the exact same route that you just came up on the train. And once you've seen it at 40 miles an hour, you've probably seen it. And if it was possible to take a bus back and get on back to Anchorage and go home, that'd be fine. That was our first trip, and that was our 25th anniversary. And we were new to cruising, never been on a ship before. We actually had a ocean view room, and we thought we were in heaven. It was just fantastic. The food was fabulous. The service was great, and it was just awesome. Our second cruise, we decided to go back to that we took to Alaska was several years later, and we took our kids and my in-laws. So we had a group of people that went the next time, and we pretty much did the same thing, except we didn't take the train. We just went straight to Anchorage and then came back home. Once again, a great time. Did some other things. My oldest daughter and I went king salmon fishing in Juneau, and we caught the only salmon of the day, and we didn't get to keep it. It wasn't big enough. I mean, it was about that long, and it still wasn't big enough. It was you have regulations required to be a certain length, and it was just not big enough. It took me 20 minutes to get it landed, but it wasn't big enough to take with us. What was I going to do with it anyway? So I do think they had provisions that you could ship them home and dry ice and that kind of thing, but I really wasn't interested. The best salmon we had on that trip was they had smoked salmon and cream cheese and really great bread, and we had some of that. But the kids enjoyed the trip. It's good for kids. Now, I say kids, they were both older, in college, or I guess in high school. They were in high school on this trip, and but I think they enjoyed it. Probably, I'm sure they both want to go back to Alaska. Our third trip to Alaska, well, that was not too long ago, just a few years ago, and once again we went on Princess. But this time, now our first two trips, we flew to Seattle, Washington, and we took a bus to Vancouver and got on the ship in Vancouver, British Columbia. Our third cruise, we left out of San Francisco, California, and it was great. I mean, even from the airport, my wife's a big baseball fan. We went by Candlestick Park, and we also went through right past AT&T Park, so we got to see where the Giants played before and now, and AT&T was really close to the cruise port, and so we were able to see both of those. And as we went out, as we left the port, we went right under the Golden Gate Bridge, which is the roll through, and we took tons of pictures of that. And then over on the right was Alcatraz, and we got to take pictures of that too. It was really great. The cruise took a different turn. It was didn't go quite as far into the passage, but it did do the glaciers, and of course, on all three trips, the glaciers are fantastic. It's you don't think about how huge these glaciers are, and the ship is so far away from the bank, you really don't get the impact until we realized that we saw a chunk of ice fall into the ocean, And then 5 minutes later, we felt the waves. I mean, it was that big. I mean, it really, really huge, and it's amazing to see it happen. It's just astounding. And of course, the Park Service, the National Park Service, has a representative that comes on the ship and talks about Glacier National Park. And if you're like me and you're a big national park person, they have all places you can stamp your book, and you can get stamp some memorabilia from the Glacier National Park while they're there. Another thing that's great about the cruise is whales. We saw whale tails all over the place. We did not at that point get on a smaller boat and chase the whales around the bay. We'll save that for another trip. But we did see lots of whales and lots of wildlife, and it's really, really funny because I expected to see moose, and we were just about finished with our first trip. We were going from Seward to Anchorage before we got on the Dome train, and right in the middle of the 4-lane highway and the island in the middle was a moose. He was stuck in the middle of the highway and couldn't get across the road. That's the only moose I ever saw. But there he was. He was there. And so I did get to see a moose. All in all, I think that the experience is very pleasurable, and the weather is very temperate. If you're looking for sunbathing, this is not the trip. It's more of events. It's rustic and obviously has a lot of historical value. Just a few facts that might be interesting to you. Of course, it was a gold rush, and so many of the area was part of that. Another thing is, Juneau, I mentioned it wasn't a big, huge town. They had to extend the runway at Juneau so that they could land Air Force One there, because it wasn't long enough to land that jet. So they had to extend the runway with gravel so that they could get Air Force One landed when the president came to visit in Alaska. But I really recommend Alaska. I think Alaska is, I would go again in a heartbeat. Every time I've been, it's been better than the last time. So, Alaska, you should do it. You should do it soon. And, of course, you should book it through cruisecraze.com. And if you like this video and you'd like to see more, please press thumbs up and press the subscribe button, and we would like to have you part of our family. So this is Yul Hanna for cruisecraze.com. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.